Ladies and gentlemen, in a lot of these stories, we've been talking about step parents, moms, dads. Sometimes we do feature grandparents. And sometimes I believe that grandparents can kind of be like a safe place for kids because usually when you think about grandparents, you think about being spoiled. You think about time away from home. You think about so many good things. You think about candy and treats and just all of this wonderful stuff. And then you look at this little baby girl right here. Let me see if I can get a better picture of her. This little girl right here, and I'm going to tell y'all, I actually like this picture, and I'll explain why this is one of my favorite pictures of this baby right here. And you just ask yourself, what could this beautiful, smiling little baby girl have done so wrong to meet such an incredibly gruesome demise? So I'm going to warn you guys, it's not going to sit well with your sensibilities. So if you can't handle it, this might be a good time to exit this video, because I'm going to give you guys some details that might turn your stomachs. But I feel like we owe it to these kids to at least listen to their story, okay? There is an Idaho grandmother. An Idaho grandmother left her missing 8-year-old granddaughter's vomit-encrusted corpse inside of her Lexus vehicle for 2 days. That baby, Taryn Summers. And thank you. I was talking about the tooth fairy. You're exactly right. We'll get back to that here in a minute. This grandmother, this so-called grandmother, let me see if I can get her face on the screen so y'all can see who I'm talking about. This evil, wicked witch of the West looking face ass, Miss Potato Face looking ass. She literally looks like every meme that you could create about an ugly looking grandmother. Just a terrible person. They said she left her missing 8-year-old granddaughter's body that was vomit encrusted, left that corpse inside of her Lexus for 2 days. Granny Wicked Witch of the West's name is Connie Smith, who was 54 years old. Why this woman looks like she's a good going on 80 is beyond me. But apparently she ages just like milk. But she was originally arrested last Thursday on charges of first-degree murder over the death of 8-year-old Taryn Summers, found dead in a garbage bag inside of her car. What kind of life is that? What? Why would she do that to her grandbaby? Why does she even have her grandbaby in her possession? Was she the custodial parent? I don't know yet. But it makes me wonder where the parents were and how this went for more than 48 hours and there was no, I don't know. There was no outcry. Let's keep going. Now, during her arraignment hearing in Jim County Court on Monday, it emerged that charges against her have been downgraded to felony failure to notify of a death and destruction of evidence. How, Sway? How? I'm going to read that again. During her arraignment hearing in Jim County Court on Monday, it emerged that charges against her have been downgraded. Downgraded to felony failure to notify of a death and destruction of evidence. According to the probable cause affidavit, law enforcement officials last week discovered Taryn Summers, identified in court records by the initials TS, dead in the trunk of her Lexus car. Prosecutors have yet to say how Taryn died, which I think that's important. Whether it was blunt force trauma or whatever it is, I don't know why that hadn't come out yet before they decide to downgrade charges. Does that even make, for the people who are listening, somebody please tell me if that makes any sense to y'all, because it doesn't to me. The child was reported missing from the Smiths' home on Airport Road in Emmett on April the 12th, months after her two older siblings, 16-year-old Tristan Sexton and 14-year-old Taylor Summers, ran away from home. The older children are not considered to be in danger because I think they were found. Now, according to court documents cited by the EastIdahoNews.com, Smith called the police last week and claimed that T.S., the baby, who is believed to be her granddaughter, had run away from home on April the 12th. The grandmother claimed that Taryn had defecated on a carpet at her home and she cut the carpet out and burned it. That's weird. Investigators later learned that Smith was driving a black Lexus with Taryn sleeping in the back seat on the day of the child's purported disappearance, and that she carried the girl to a bedroom at home. 2 days later, police searched Smith's Lexus and found her granddaughter's body stuffed inside a black trash bag on the floor of the rear seating area. Please remember that they downgraded the charges. Bookmark that in your mind. We'll come back to it. The affidavit revealed that the child had vomit in her hair and on her shirt. During a search of Smith's residence, forensic investigators observed a small brown spot on the bedroom wall, which they presumed to be blood, the document stated. Jennifer Sexton, who identified herself as Taryn's aunt, wrote in the description of a GoFundMe page, because of course, why have life insurance when you could just throw up $155 million GoFundMe and somebody's going to put a shit ton of money in it, right? There's no reason to have life insurance, apparently. So they wrote in a GoFundMe campaign that Smith was the foster mother of the girl and her older siblings. Therefore, that means you have a failure on this baby's biological mother and father. That's already a horrible sign when both parents are occupado, incapacitated, whatever it is. Taryn had a personality twice her size and was a very funny little smart girl who could always make everybody laugh, wrote Sexton. EastIdahoNews.com previously reported that the child's biological mother was arrested in 2019 after Taylor, Taryn, and another sibling tested positive for illegal narcotics. So mama is a meth head. How about that? How about that? At Smith's arraignment on Monday, Judge Tyler Smith called the allegations against the woman disturbing. Prosecutors Eric Thompson told the court that additional charges could be filed against Smith and asked the judge to set her bond at $1 million. Smith's attorney argued that this client is not a flight risk because she has strong ties to the community, have lived in Idaho for 20 years, and raised 8 children there. He also said that she is a person of modest means and any bond amount would be difficult for her to pay. The judge set bail at $800,000. If released from jail, she'll be required to wear a GPS monitor, surrender her passport, and stay in western Idaho. She is also prohibited from having any contact with children. She's due back in court on May the 3rd, which is in a few days. So here's the thing. What I have a problem with is the fact that they are already downgrading charges that quickly. That just doesn't sound right to me. But the charges could completely come back and go against her, which I think it should, because that's impossible for this woman to have been in this car, been around this kid, the only person who's the caretaker of her at this point, and she don't know nothing about the death of this kid and how this kid ended up dead in her car and stuffed inside of a trash bag. Who else would you think would have done it? Hashtag babies for benefits, because that woman damn sure didn't love them kids at all. Let me give you guys the fair usage. Let's get it. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use and is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. Let's get it.
We begin today with a case that has rocked an entire community to its core. A Gem County woman arrested in Ada County last week who was originally charged with murder, now facing the felony charge of failure to notify of a death and destruction of evidence in the death of her 8-year-old granddaughter. That's according to the latest court documents surrounding Connie Smith. Multiple agencies, including the FBI, the U.S. Marshal, and the Idaho State Police, searched Smith's home last Thursday night outside of Emmett. Authorities said that night they believed they found the remains of this little girl, 8-year-old Taryn Summers, in a trash bag inside a car at her home.
Let me say this real quick. I know I usually let the videos run. I've got to address two things that y'all just said in the chat because I totally agree with you. First of all, we have one person that said she probably didn't want to lose that check for fostering. Sounds like the little girl had a seizure and grandma didn't care enough to get proper medical care. That actually does make sense. That actually does make sense. So I appreciate you saying that. We also had another person who said she killed her but reported her a runaway, which is premeditated murder. That's also something else to think about as far as a motive. Something that makes sense. Let's keep going.
That night, they arrested Smith in Ada County. Now, there are many more questions than answers in this case right now. Our Tristan Lewis is in Gem County and joins us live with more on what we know. Tristan?
Good afternoon, Mark. Judge Tyler Smith has sent Connie Smith's bond for $800,000. And today we learned that she's being charged with 2 new charges that she was booked for in Ada County last week. She's being charged with failure to notify of a corpse and destruction of evidence, both of which are felonies. She is being found guilty. If she is found guilty, she could face a total of 15 years in prison and a $16,000 fine.
Alleged conduct is disturbing. Report that a child was missing. Ultimately, the discovery of the deceased child on the property. I believe 2 days.
She could get 15 years. Did y'all hear that? That's it? It seemed like the system is going real light on Granny.
Failure to notify of a corpse and destruction of evidence, both of which are felonies. She is being found guilty. If she is found guilty, she could face a total of 15 years in prison.
15, man, I hope they give her life in prison. Give her 50 freaking years in prison. 50, give her her age. 54 years. That's what she needs in prison. That don't make any sense.
And a $16,000 fine.
Alleged conduct is disturbing. Report that a child was missing. Ultimately, the discovery of the deceased child on the property. I believe 2 days later. The potential penalty, depending on the conclusion of the investigation, could be severe.
If Smith does post bail, she will have to wear a GPS monitoring device and she cannot leave the area. Gem County Prosecutor Eric Thompson recommended her bond be set at $1 million. He says that additional charges are to be expected. And no official name has been given in the name of
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Don Nelson. Tonight at 10, we head directly to our top story. New details as court documents shed light on how investigators say they found the body of a young child in a trash bag in the backseat of a Lexus in Emmett. The Gem County Sheriff's Office tells us they believe the body to be that of Taryn Summers, an 8-year-old girl who was reported missing last week. Our reporter Ricardo Coronado has been closely following this story for you and has the very latest.
The Gem County Sheriff's Office have yet to publicly identify the suspect in this case, who they arrested last week in Ada County. But a probable cause affidavit points to 54-year-old Connie Ann Smith, the grandmother of the child. On April 15, investigators in Emmett made a horrific discovery. The Gem County Sheriff's Office say they found a body that they believe to be 8-year-old Taryn Summers in a garbage bag in a family car.
I'd say maybe if it went down the way that they say, 15 years just don't sound long enough. Maybe 25, but there's nothing that's going to be good enough because it ain't going to bring this baby back. But let me remind you guys, if y'all would, you could show some virtual love for this baby by clicking that thumbs up. It'll help share this stream. Our goal is to try to get to 600 thumbs up if we can get there. So please click that thumbs up and help share this stream and share this baby's story, okay?
Young girl was reported missing on April 12th and was last seen on Airport Road. A probable cause affidavit states that
said found blood in the home and found blood in her car and found the body in her car. There's just too much there. And it was her car. So you asked whose car it was? It was grandmother's car and her car. That's too many fingers pointing at her. But I want y'all to also remember that this is still kind of early. But we do expect more charges, and we expect for her to get life in prison for her role in this.
Investigators responded to the residence of 54-year-old Connie Ann Smith in Emmett, whom they identify as the grandmother of the child referred to as TS in the document. Smith had reported the child as a runaway, prompting multiple searches at her residence that investigators say eventually led to the discovery of a child's body in the backseat of a black Lexus registered to a family member. Though authorities say they have arrested a suspect in the case, they have not publicly identified that person. Ada County arrest logs show Connie Ann Smith was initially booked into jail on first-degree murder charges on an out-of-county warrant and later transferred to Gem County.
State of Idaho versus Connie Smith.
On Monday, Smith appeared for her arraignment at the Gem County.
Somebody in the chat is saying it was her son's car, not her car. Okay, I'll go with that because I don't know for a fact, but I thought from the document I read, I thought they said that it was a car that she owned. So maybe the car was in her name. I don't know. They said they found it, the child in her Lexus. That's it. Let me make sure to read this again. Make sure I read this right. Let me make sure. I could have read that wrong. Let me make sure. An Idaho grandmother left her missing eight-year-old granddaughter's vomit-encrusted corpse inside her Lexus for 2 days. This is why I'm very careful about what I read. Y'all can go to the article. It says an Idaho grandmother left her 8-year-old granddaughter's vomit-encrusted corpse inside her Lexus for 2 days. Didn't say nothing about her son's car. Said her Lexus. But let's get past that.
Magistrate Court. She's now charged with 2 felonies, failure to notify of a death and destruction, alteration, or concealment of evidence.
That would carry a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison, a $50,000 fine, or both. Do you understand that maximum penalty?
Yes.
Count 2 alleges destruction of evidence, a felony. That would carry up to 5 years in prison, a $10,000 fine, or both. Do you understand that maximum possible penalty?
Yes.
It's unclear if Smith will face murder charges, but Eric Thompson, Gem County prosecutor, says more charges could be coming pending investigation.
The state is waiting for the conclusion of that investigation
or making any final determinations on any charges. However, it would be my current belief that additional charges for Ms. Smith will be coming.
The court set a bail of $800,000 for Smith, and a preliminary hearing is scheduled for May 3rd. In Emmett, Ricardo Coronado, Idaho News.
And welcome to the Saturday News at 10. I'm Shira Matsuzawa. Thank you for joining us. Well, candles, balloons, and heartache were on full display tonight as people who knew and who never met Taryn Summers came together and held a candlelight vigil for the 8-year-old girl in Emmett. Now, Taryn was first reported missing on...
If y'all can hear that, let me know. Type in the chat and let me know if y'all can hear that.
Candles, balloons, and heartache were on full display tonight as people...
Y'all should be able to hear that okay. I'm going to let it play out.
Monday, investigators believe they found her body at a home in Emmett. Tonight, the community held this vigil at Bowman Memorial Park in honor of the young girl.
Absolutely devastated. You know, I mean, to think of this, an 8-year-old girl who's gone through this tragedy is just absolutely unthinkable. You know, and you think of your own kids, and my kids played with this little girl. So it was, when we got the news, it was devastating. And also just to bring awareness that, you know, sometimes it's important to, if you know something's going on or you suspect something's going on within a home where there's abuse or neglect, that's reported to somebody who can help.
Our crew on the scene tells us some 200 people attended today's vigil.
And I want y'all to notice, they said 200 people showed up. Think about the last story that we just did about the New York twins. They put one Money House Blessing candle out there on the street, lit, to represent 2 murdered lives. Nobody cared about those twins. Look at this situation and notice how some people knew this baby, some people didn't, and they still got a lot of support. 200 people. This is what I've been asking for, is I've been asking for people to care about all of these babies and support them like this. Make time, find time, because it shouldn't be happening. I'm going to tell you guys, I always put the onus on the biological mother and biological father. The nuclear family is where the failure first started, because something was going wrong with this mom and dad, that they didn't have this baby under their roof and they were not the caretakers. I'm not sure how long this baby was in this woman's possession, but she should have never been there in the first place, because that was the mom's job and the dad's job. So that's where the failure starts. We could blame it on grandma. We could blame it on CPS. We could blame it on the rain if we want to, I guess. But the responsibility starts on the mother and the father, okay? Now, because the grandmother ended up getting custody, she had to have known that either something was going wrong, she was either doing something wrong, could have been beating on the kids. Y'all know sometimes old people, patience run a little thin, and kids got a lot of high energy, and maybe, I don't know, maybe she wanted to permanently sit this baby down and took it too far, which is why I also believe in not being physical. I do not believe in physical discipline with children at all. If you hit your kids, then stop hitting your kids, stop spanking your kids, stop grabbing at them, yelling, cussing, fussing, and all of that stuff. We gotta start putting more love into our children. Because it seems like this woman didn't love this kid, or probably any of them other kids, and she probably only had them, well, number one, because probably nobody else was there for him. Mama wasn't there for him. She was in jail. We don't know where dad is. He probably a rolling stone. But grandma clearly also had an incentive, and it seemed like her incentive was financial. I'm not sure what the level of that was, but she damn sure didn't care about the kids. So it seemed like she only had those kids to benefit and get something off of it. It's really sad, and it seems like this baby was really kind of doomed from the beginning of her life. I hope they do come out with more evidence, and as they get more evidence and as they proceed further in this case, we'll probably do an update and let you guys kind of know what's going on. Or if you will check the community tab, sometimes if we end up with really, really short stories, I'll just post the updates in the community tab so people can kind of know and follow these stories and figure out what's going on. But Taryn Summers, let me go back to my favorite picture of her and I'll explain why it was my favorite picture. We'll talk about that GoFundMe here in a moment. This was my favorite picture of her because she's just like a typical kid, lost a tooth, got $1 from the tooth fairy. She just seemed like a typical kid, a typical baby. She seemed happy. They don't need much, just a little love and attention. That's it. Let me talk about this GoFundMe real quick. Let's see here. This GoFundMe was put up by Jennifer Sexton. $8,000 for this GoFundMe. So they didn't want to make this type of an investment while this baby was living, but they want to take this and they want to ask for this type of money off of her death. Solely off of her death. This is where life insurance needs to come in place. Life insurance should never be supplemented for GoFundMe and vice versa. Because it seemed like there was really no love for that baby. But guess what? They put up a GoFundMe. Seemed like the community cared. Seemed like the kids cared. The kids are sad because they don't understand what's going on and why this happened. And this type of thing should stop. We can't do anything about Taryn's death, but what we can do is we can use her death as a cautionary tale to prevent these type of things going forward. Okay? Well, what happened was senseless, and I hope we get a real explanation, because I'm not so sure Granny Wicked Witch of the West is going to tell us. Okay? So we hope that we get justice. We'll do a follow-up with the story as we get more information. But to that little princess, let me see if I can get her picture back up here. Taryn Summers. Let me see if I can get a solo shot. Young princess, R.I.P. I'm DJ Just J. We're the AFC, and we're going to advocate for children first. So from my heart to yours, I love you guys. Thank y'all for listening with an open mind and an open heart. Y'all have a great day and a great night. We'll see you guys on the next stream, okay? Thank you.